And I'm going to hand over to you, Elena. Thank you very much.
Okay. Can you see the screen, Rob?
All good, Elena. All good. Thanks a million.
Okay, yeah. So thank you very much for being here today. And thank you, Rob, for inviting me. And hopefully Mandy, if she's around, or she might be around later, to share our experiences using immersive virtual reality for foreign language learning. So today's presentation, I will introduce very briefly, some of the benefits of using this type of technology for foreign language learning. Then I will talk of the technology that is available in the DCU Virtual Reality Lab here in DCU, in the business school. And then we finalize with some conclusions, just to summarize our experience using this type of technology. So this is the called Devs Leadership Lab in DCU Business School. And we are very grateful to the business school, and in particular to the teaching coordinator, David Kenny, and his support team, Timothy Kennedy, for introducing us in this world of immersive learning using virtual reality systems. As you see, the type of technology that is available there is fully immersive systems, so the experience of the users is much more rich than any other type of virtual reality approach. So most of the literature highlights some of the main benefits for using this type of technology, which are to provide more and to enrich the learning experience of the students by providing this type of real life simulations that not always is very is possible to recreate in the language classroom, as I'm going to speak and give you some examples later today. Also, students are able to practice the target language in a more immersive and engaging environment. And we know, the impact of engagement in learning, that always helps to retain the content, vocabulary, and in particular, all this language practice. Most of these technology we use provide immediate feedback of the users when they use this language practice using immersive virtual reality. And once, if we use it for cultural learning, the experience of the students is, in my experience, much more richer than, for example, presenting some of the culture in the classroom. So this is Monthly, that is one of the software that was acquired in the DCU Virtual Language Lab for us. And I'm going to play a very short video just to give you an idea what this system looks like.
Hello. Nice to meet you. How are you?
How do you like it here?
Here's your change.
Keep the change. Would you like a room with a view? Would you like some food?
A salad would like.
Please repeat.
I would like a salad, please.
Okay. I see Mandy there. Okay, so the experience of using Monthly is much more real than, just by watching the video that looks more artificial, the scenarios in which the students can practice all these frequent situational, situations of frequently used language practice that normally are presented to the students in beginners level, in A1, A2 level. And this is how we use it in our language courses for beginners, learners of Spanish, in my case, and I think Mendy also use it in Chinese. So at the end of this introductory course for beginners Spanish, we tend to take the students to the virtual reality lab to practice in the immersive environment in virtual reality, all these functional situations of language use, in which they can engage, as is one of the learning outcomes of the course, engage in simple interactions in Spanish to address basic daily life needs. That is exactly what they can do in Monthly. So the feedback from the students was very positive, particularly because there were scenarios that they already practiced and learned during class time. And so they liked the immersive experience and also the interaction with the avatars, rather than maybe doing the same practice in a role play in the classroom. Also, the realistic settings is also addressed, and the individual feedback that the students received, and also, the fact that they were more confident at the end of this session using the language in real life tasks, and enjoyable, and it's very enjoyable as well. So the second type of technology is the free-flowing conversations, in which this is at the time of this year, we were only able to use these free-flowing conversations in the DCU virtual lab, whereas now this different type of role play is also available, the interviews in other languages that are not English or different from English. For this practice, we took, or I took this year, to a group of students that are studying the Bachelor of Education with Irish and Spanish. So they are future language teachers, but they are also practicing and learning it again, still, Spanish. So one of the objectives of this course for Spanish teaching purposes is to assess critically different type of teaching methodologies, in which that was a task students had to do. So compare the use of Monthly with the use of free-flowing conversations, and they both have this type of practice. So they found that, for example, Monthly, as you probably saw, the type of topic is much more limited, and the responses are restricted sometimes to these language patterns that you get, some optional responses, whereas the free-flowing conversations, students can interact with the avatar in a more spontaneous way. And also provide more opportunities for negotiation of meaning. Monthly doesn't provide real feedback, only from pronunciation, but I think it's mostly for the system, the voice recognition system that is on the software, that is not has not been perfect, that needs more update to recognize foreign accents, whereas the other system, free-flowing conversations, offer more real feedback. And finally, the last technology I'm going to talk about myself is Google Earth virtual reality, that I used with a group of high intermediate students of the language, in which one of the goals for this course was to present the students with the diversity of the Latin American content and the diversity in terms of geography, population, but also inequalities through the film of the motorcycle diaries. So we analyzed and worked through the film during class time, and then I embedded this practice with virtual reality in the lab, in which the students could visit some of these landmarks and UNESCO sites that we talk about during class time in virtual reality. And that was quite an experience for the students. And then they had to, as a second part of the task, to engage with the avatar conversation using free flow conversations, in which they could ask more practical details about visiting these places. And finally, they had to ask feedback for their intervention and final group reflection in the group. And I think Mandy, my colleague Mandy, is around. Is Mandy around?
Yeah.
Oh,
Hello,
hi.
I'm here.
Hello,
Yeah.
Mandy. So
Hi, Ellen.
Mandy,
Hi.
I'll pass the floor to Mandy, who's going to talk about her experience of using this in Chinese foreign language teaching and learning. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Elena. So hello, everyone. Can you hear me clearly?
All good, Mandy. Yeah.
Okay, great. So hello, everyone. My name is Mengdi. I taught Chinese as a foreign language and Chinese culture in DCU in the past 2 years. And today I'm going to talk a little bit more how I applied VR in the Chinese language and culture classes. So firstly, I'm going to talk about the YouTube 360. So as you know, 360 is some kind of like technology, and these immersive videos allow learners to explore screens in a full 360 perspectives. So unlike traditional videos where you watch from a fixed viewpoint, 360-degree videos let you look in any directions, up, down, or around. So these videos are compatible with VR headsets for an even more immersive experience. So imagine you can look around and feel like you can truly play a panda with you together. So I'm going to play a very short video about this, how it looks like. No problem.
I just.
Do you mind I share? Yeah. Oh, maybe I am going to share it again. Sorry about that. Yeah, I share with. So can you see my screen? Yeah.
Yeah.
Good. So, and oh, it's frozen a little bit. But basically, I'm so sorry, probably the internet's not that good, but basically you can see the small icon on the left top, so you can negotiate or navigate the direction, so you can look more in detail with the headset. So you feel the panda just standing in front of you, and you can play with them together. So that's the basic idea about how I use the 360 videos with my students in the Chinese language and culture class. So I might just go. Alana, do you mind just share our slides again? Thank you. So yeah, thank you so much. So now let's look at how a typical VR assistant Chinese language course is structured. So we start with a first step session to help students familiarize themselves with the VR equipment. Probably some of them, they just be their first time to use VR and they don't know how to use the handles and how to turn on the volumes with the headset. So we just use this the first step as a small play games and to get them to familiar with the headset. And this includes guidance from the lab colleagues in DCU to ensure everyone is comfortable with the headset. And this takes about 15 to 20 minutes and include a short break. So after that, we use Mondly app for conversational practice, as Elena showed it earlier. So it's like the student can talk privately directly to an avatar, which allow them to engage in dialogue with scenarios. So this session lasts around 20 minutes, again, so with some breaks to keep students focused. Then we move on to YouTube 360 videos. So here, students watch culturally immersive videos, which we have covered before. The links are shared with the lab colleagues so beforehand, so they can make sure there's going to be a smooth delivery. Finally, we conclude with a reflection session where students share their feedback and experience. So this structure provides a balanced mix of technology, conversation, and culture immersion. Thank you. Next slide, please. Thank you. So during our sessions, we gather feedback on students' experience of using VR. So overall, the responses are very promising. The majority highlighted the entertainment aspect of interacting with VR. So you can say fun, interactive, enjoyable in this word cloud here. And next slide, please. So in terms of Mondly, the specific application we use to practice the language, students were asked to provide 3 words to describe their experience. The most prominent words include fun, different, and good practice, which highlights the engaging and unique aspect of Mondly. Many students appreciate how Mondly provide a structured environment for language practice, making it both enjoyable and effective. However, there are some words like hard and difficult, which indicates that some students found the task challenging, particularly with Chinese pronunciation. But I also want to mention here, so for my students, they are from the beginner level. So their Chinese language is limited, so they found it's a little bit difficult to practice the dialogue here within the Mondly. Next slide, please. Thank you. So, and as you can see, this slide presents a feedback on the preference between practicing oral Chinese with a real person versus a VR avatar. So it's interesting that half of the students prefer talking to a real person, while the other half choose to practice with an avatar. For example, one student mentioned how VR helped improve their pronunciation because they could repeat phrases without pressure. That's usually happen a lot when it comes to the physical class. Another one said they felt less nervous talking to an avatar than a real person. On the other hand, real conversations were described as more interactive and effective in building natural communication skills comparing to talking to an avatar. So this feedback suggests that a combination of both approaches could offer the best of the both worlds, so human connection and technological consistency. Next slide, please. So when it comes, yeah, thank you. When it comes to YouTube 360 videos, students consistently find the experience engaging and enjoyable, as I mentioned earlier. And many students describe it as eye-catching and an amazing experience, as the format effectively transports them to new environments rather than stay in the physical classroom. This kind of virtual experience enhances their engagement and makes the content feel more real, authentic, and immediate. Next slide, please. So, well, VR offers many advantages. There are also some challenges we need to address. Some students found navigating the VR interface tricky, often ending up back on the home page unintentionally. And the physical discomfort was another issue. They have some eye strain, migraines, and the difficulty of standing for long periods were very common complaints among students. Additionally, the restrict movement with the VR setup was frustrating for some students as they encountered warnings when step out of the designated area. So we have a mat on the floor, so students have to stay inside of the mat. So and to see the scenarios with the headset. And lastly, interacting with VR avatars had its own limitation. So some students felt the avatars were too advanced, as I mentioned earlier, and making the communication challenging. It's good to use such like a monthly application, maybe with intermediate or advanced level students. But for the beginner levels, we need more careful scaffolding and facilitation for students. So they also wish for more response options to improve engagements. So this challenge reminds us, well, VR is a powerful tool. There's room for improvement to make it more user-friendly and inclusive. Next slide, please. Yes, thank you. So to wrap up, so VR is very clearly is a valuable addition to language learning and teaching. It's fun, engaging, and motivates students to immerse themselves in both language and the culture environment. And also, VR fosters intercultural communication competence, which is also very crucial in today's globalization world. However, we must acknowledge its limitations. VR requires significant technical support. We got the colleagues from the VR lab in DCU, and also the colleagues help us to set up everything and make it ready for the students to use. And the physical discomfortable can impact the user's experience, and the current application don't fully support collaborative teamwork. For example, in Mondeley, it's always about like students talk to the avatar individually rather than work as a team. And so with the right support, we think VR can truly, help and revolutionize the way we learn languages. So yes, so that's all about our sharing in using VR for the language and culture teaching. And thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Mindy and Elena, for that wonderful, wonderful presentation. I'm just going to pause the recording and I'll pass over to you, Geraldine.
Thanks, Rob, and thanks so much for inviting us to be part of the first of the webinars in the webinar series. We're delighted, and myself and Noelle will take you through just, I suppose, our case study, if you like, around event management. But what we thought might be useful as well was to situate that in the context of getting this off the ground. And I note in the chat there's lots of conversations about the maths and Meta Horizon and so on, and all of those are really pertinent questions when you're trying to get a new technology, like this off the ground. So if I can move forward and hopefully everything works okay. This was the learning enhancement project, and as you can see, it was SATL funded. It was a learning enhancement project in 22-23. This was the basis for our what we wanted to share with you today. And those of you who are involved or who have been involved with learning enhancement projects, there was 10,000 euros that we had to spend on something that was aligned with the digital agenda, and we decided to have a look at immersive technologies. So I know my colleague Assumpta is also in the room as well, so thanks Assumpta. And I think for us really, we wanted to explore, to see, was it possible? And it was really interesting to see how VR was used then in language learning in the previous presentations. So Noelle and I kind of, I suppose, as researchers, were interested in then kind of looking to see how this might enhance or potentially enhance the student experience. So this is TOOS. For those of you who haven't kind of come across TOOS before, we're in the centre of Ireland. We've 7 campuses and lots of different faculties. And I suppose to give you an overview of those faculties, you can see that there's a really broad range, as there would be with any of our technological universities and as there would be with our universities across the island of Ireland. But this is interesting, I suppose, from the point of view of VR, because there is huge scope. And since this initial project, we found that there is so much potential, and there's so much out there. And again, we've seen lots of examples of those in the chat throughout the session. So this is where it started. You might recognize it yourselves, anybody who has started out with headsets. For our learning enhancement project, as I say, we had a certain amount of money. We bought 9 Quest 2s. I think I was kind of tasked with unboxing, and there's lots of YouTube videos about unboxing. I hadn't the patience. But anyway, tasked with unboxing, trying to figure out how then we would get the apps on the headsets and so on. And while there was a level of expertise within TUS, because we have research teams looking at the quality of user experience and so on, I was coming at it from, I suppose, a learning and teaching perspective. My role within CPID was to kind of explore new and emerging technologies. So this was my first foray into VR and starting out with the Quest 2s. The office looks no better than this now. There's still lots of more technology and so on, but in any case, that was the start of it. This was also important for us because, again, some of you might be very, very comfortable in the VR space, but for us, we were starting out. We knew the pedagogical potential, but in terms of getting the headsets in our hands, we got together on a Friday, I think, or maybe it wasn't a Friday, one of the afternoons anyway, in one of the software labs, and we explored. Now, just to let you know, I'm afraid of heights, and one of the first thing our facilitator, Martina, in the front, asked us to do was jump off a world. So if you've jumped off a world, you'll know that that's quite an experience, and I was terrified. And straight away I went, okay, so in the virtual space, your real world reactions are still as real as ever. And that was, all of that learning was so useful to us as we went along. You can see the domain areas for this particular project. Noelle will speak to one of them today. And we kind of lost and gained along the way. So we ended up with some colleagues from science and health involved. And we lost then a colleague who had moved to another institution in the lifelong learning space. But that's what happens, I think, with research projects. So this was the rationale. And I suppose the key thing was around supporting cross-campus collaboration, because as I say, we have 7 campuses. So we were looking to work with our new colleagues, building that community of practice, and then trying to think about, what is the potential of the emerging technologies. Very quickly, that's the study aim and objectives. And this, I suppose, sets the scene for Noelle's kind of presentation as well, looking at it from the point of view of quality of student experience. And I think that's why it was really important in the previous presentation as well to highlight, sometimes the students felt uncomfortable and not everybody was delighted to have a VR headset on them. So this, I suppose, for me was the most important thing. It does take a village. And if you look at each of these shapes, you will see that we have the library. And Assumpta is our systems librarian, as I said, in the room. Computer services were really important. Meta Horizon was Quest for Business. We're still trying to figure out what's the best way to actually manage the headsets within TUS, and that's 3 years later. CPID, that's ourselves. Finance, procurement, anyone? And then the faculty support teams. And we built on our SATL project with an N-Tutor project, which was important as well because that allowed us to scale up. But I think it's so important that if you have everybody on board with that vision of let's see how we can actually use VR for teaching, learning and assessment, then you're on the right track, because there's no room for the lone wolf, to be honest. So I'm going to hand over to Noelle now, if that's okay, Noelle, and you can give me a nod to move the slides forward. But Noelle will talk about the event management specifically, even though it was part of, we had 2 case studies in tourism as well. So Noelle, over to you.
Thank you, Geraldine, and hello, colleagues. Again, just putting out there, I am not an expert at all in AR, VR. My background is very much travel, tourism, event management, sustainability, and higher education. So this was fun. This was different. And again, always looking at new ways to excite our students about our industry. So as Geraldine said, we done 2 cases with this. We done 2 different programs, the travel and tourism students and the event management students. small enough groups, up to 30 students, but as colleagues would know, dealing with VR headsets, sometimes it's hard to manage. And just an overview of the two of them, the travel and tourism students was a smaller group, much easier to manage with the VR headsets, whereas the event management was a lot bigger. So we're going to go into the event management one, please, Geraldine. Okay, so you might have heard of the Tomorrowland festival in Belgium. You might have heard about it last year for the wrong reasons, because you might have noticed 2 to 3 days before the festival itself, the main stage was burnt down. Today we're talking about in a virtual world as well. So with the students in event management, they're very much involved in product development, product design, event planning, event volunteering. So this is just another way to entice them to work and to, within the events management industry. We picked this case study because it's probably, from a music perspective and an event perspective, it's probably one of the best known music events in the world. And again, it just allowed students to look at things from a different perspective. And if anyone works with event management students, they're very expressive, they're very creative, they really are doers, and you can see why they work in the people industry. So they really embraced it. Next slide, please, Charlene. So the learning outcomes for this case study, again, look at the theory, the principal theory design and creative techniques, demonstrate knowledge of event theming and design, review the categories of decor and special effects of events. And again, that's where we really came into its own within this student cohort as well. Analyze the different types of entertainment available in further events, the management of such resources. Yeah. And just again, what we done, it was a 1 hour class. Thankfully, we were in a huge room, so we had lots of space to get up and walk around, because an issue that I had, and Geraldine mentioned at the beginning, was feeling the motion sickness. So it was a very safe space where students would get up and they could walk around as well. So that was very, very popular as well, and worked really well. And we picked the Tomorrowland because these guys, they were first years, so 18, 19 years of age. So that's why we thought that Tomorrowland Music Festival would work very well. And basically what we wanted to do overall is introduce them to VR as part of their curriculum, but also give them more confidence using it and maybe excite them more about the learning. Thank you, Geraldine. And again, I just mentioned the festival is one of the biggest music festivals in the world. It's like the Electric Picnic of Europe. So it is known traditionally before the fire for its very elaborate stage designs, diverse kind of artists, big crowds, and it's very much electric dance as well. So it's in Belgium. Next slide, please, Geraldine. So again, this is, I don't know if that will, yes, it will. I don't know if you want to just show a few minutes of it, Geraldine, and this is what, students are looking at, and this is how we used it. So again, it's available there, and that's just giving you a snippet of what they experienced as they were looking through the VR headsets as well. So quite real, very, very visual, very, very interactive. But because these are event management students, they're always looking at the other side of the fence, the visuals, the crowd safety, the crowd control, again, food and beverage. That is a key part of an experience of being at an event, a music event. Next slide, please, Charlene.
Oops, sorry now.
And no, you're around. And just if you go back one, sorry.
Yeah.
And just, this is the joys of working with, yeah. So just some reflections. The students, again, a lot of them had never used VR headsets. I think time of year, Geraldine, I think we done this in October. I think it was October, November. Yes, so the students were new, they were first years, so they hadn't used it before. And because, as you know, if you've got teenagers in your house, or if you deal with first year students or second year students, they're very, phone savvy. They know how to, they're always gaming. So it was great to see them using VR in an educational capacity as well. And they really, but they did get bored quite quickly with it. That's the only thing to consider as well. And because we had a big group in the room, We noticed as well, like some of the headsets, the batteries, with the controls, the batteries went and we had to charge. So that's something you definitely have to consider. And we had 3 of us in the room for about 27 students, myself, Geraldine, our colleague, Sarah Jane. You definitely needed 3 colleagues in a room to manage it. So again, you've got to think, I suppose, how realistic is that in a normal lecturing environment as well. The lecturer, Sarah Jane, it was her module, her classroom, and she said it was really good fun. It was really interactive, and she felt as well kind of reinforced the learning as well for her. And the following week, she was just saying to me over coffee as well, the students were still talking about the following week, how this is something that they will always remember, and it's something that she would like to do in the future again, but she would need help and support doing it as well. On the next slide, we just have some pictures of, oh, sorry, the pictures are gone.
I'm going back the way. There are the pictures.
Oh, there you are. Yeah. So you can see now, you can see how we had a lot of space. That was one huge room. Those of you who are fans of, I was going to say Leinster rugby because I'm a Leinster gal. This is just beside Thomond Park. It's actually the bar beside Thomond Park, and it's a huge classroom that we use. That's why there's beer stools in there. But there was so much room to walk around, and that is compulsory for doing this type of activity. You have to have the space. So the students were getting into it. So you can see there, Geraldine on the bottom right hand side, Geraldine was given an overview, and then when that was done, you can see there's pictures of Sarah Jane is in the flowery top. Here's me pointing as if you're behind me. Sarah Jane is in the flowery white jacket there with Geraldine, and I was behind and kind of coordinated. The 3 of us were like tick-tacking all the way for the hour as well. Thank you, Geraldine. So the results, again, here we're just talking about, it is something we could definitely use within tourism and event management education. And the example we just showed you today would be within the event programs. Event is very IT focused at the moment within TUS. So it definitely is something that we could use. And it was great that the students could see the potential for themselves after they leave college. And remember, our students go on placement for 6 months in 3rd year. And a lot of the time in 3rd year, they are implied as social media kind of influencers within different organizations. So this has given them another string, to their bow as well. Lecturers were asking me about coming back again. Is something we could do, further learning opportunities, maybe as a thesis as well. That would be another option as well. And sometimes, as we know, we give the students an awful lot of theory, but maybe not enough practice. This was putting the theory into practice. And again, maybe we should go back now and go to the same group of students who are in 2nd year. I was actually with them yesterday and say to them, okay, guys, remember that 1st year, what were your thoughts and how would you like to move forward with this? So within a very hands-on industry, travel, tourism, hospitality, event, culinary arts, this just showed to us that we can make these, we can integrate VR into this industry. We can also make it more interactive as well. And a big issue we have within this industry is attracting students to higher education, but also attracting employees into industry, because a lot of people don't see it as a career. This is just giving it a different layer of interest for those students. Thank you, Geraldine.
Thanks a million, Noelle. And I suppose just to finish up, because it is the first in the series and we're delighted that Rob has kind of brought us all together. In terms of TUS's journey around VR and immersive technologies, there is an OER on the National Forum website, and we can put it into the chat or send it on to Rob, around getting started. It documents our journey, it documents the learning, because we were trying to not reinvent the wheel for others as well. So certainly that might be something that might be of interest. We hosted an EduXor symposium last May. Some of you were at it, I know, and it was lovely to see you there. And equally, we're part of the Virtue Network and their immersive members as well. And then finally, we have collaborations with colleagues in Canada, and we have embedded, particularly in our nursing programs, OMS, which is medical simulation, and I think I saw body swap somewhere along the line as well. So there's lots going on, but I think the key thing is that SATL funded learning enhancement projects, they are small, but they give people an opportunity to explore and to dip their toe in the water. So we'd highly recommend that as well. I'm really delighted to be part of this network, and thank you so much to Rob for inviting us. And that's us.